Hello, my Bill for Thousand Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. All right, we are back with another Coffeehouse Crime. This one is titled "The Killer Alpha Male: The Case of Lyndon Mcleod." McLeod. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. I'm sorry if I butchered it, but more likely he's a murderer, so I don't care. This one was actually suggested by a viewer, so we all know how much I love it when y'all suggest them because I can't be blamed for the traumatization. Let's go ahead and get into this story. Go ahead, turn the mics down low, put on something comfy, come up with someone special. Let's get.
Lyndon Mcleod. You have likely never heard of this man before.
No.
But this narcissistic, misogynistic, violent man created a self-insert fanfiction trilogy all about himself. Most of those around Lyndon ignored the glaring red flags, and those who did highlight his concerning behaviour to authorities were seemingly ignored. But in December of 2021, Lyndon would go on to commit a series of violent actions, all of which were detailed in his books. And the consequences behind these actions were catastrophic.
What?
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name
Hi,
is
bud.
Adrian, and welcome back to another
Hey, bud. How you doing today, bud? Everything doing all right, bud? Doing good, bud? All right, bud.
video by Coffeehouse Crime. Today we're looking at the case of Lyndon Mcleod. Now, this case is something. Lyndon Mcleod's story is right up there with Randy Stair and Elliot Rogers, as one of the most insufferable perpetrators that I've covered, and so with that said, viewer discretion is advised. And of course, just to let you know that I post solved, unsolved, and strange cases here weekly.
One thing I do like about Sprite Zero Sugar, I don't ever have to worry about blurring it out or anything. It just disappears. It's great.
So if that's of interest to you, please consider subscribing to Coffeehouse Crime. So please, take a seat my friend, and enjoy the coffee here. This is the case of Lyndon Mcleod.
And yes, I do not have my normal cup of coffee today, but my belly is doing some weird things today. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It sounds angry.
Incredible landscapes, the Rocky Mountains, and endless days of sunshine. Of course.
Oh my god, that is fucking gorgeous. I'm sorry, it is. Look at it. No, no, like, look at it. Do you actually see it? So pretty. Look at the trees. I want to go.
I'm talking about Colorado. Welcome to Denver, folks. Found near the center of Colorado, the mile-high city boasts more than 300 days of sunshine per year. There are many appealing aspects about Denver, which is probably why, in the most recent decade, its economy has grown by a staggering 19%. But let's not tire ourselves with the boring facts this time, especially when there's so much natural beauty.
Let's not worry about the beauty and the splendor that is this wonderful area. Let's get straight into the tomfuckery.
To look at. Hiking is at the top of the list when it comes to Colorado's outdoor activities.
I can see that.
Hundreds of trails sprawl across its mountains and forests, where other activities such as kayaking and mountain climbing await. And after a long day outside, Denver's incredible food scene will recharge you for the next one. It is also a city with world-famous breweries, a thriving sports culture, and more than 200 local parks. If you can manage Denver's rocketing prices, then you are more than sure to have fun here. And found within the city of Denver lived a man named Lyndon Mcleod. Lyndon was not your everyday man, and as much as he'd like you to believe that he was a superhero, his unique differences tend to push him in the opposite direction. Born in the year 1974, Lyndon Mcleod was born into a military family. He spent his younger years overseas, before living across multiple states in the US, and after attending high school in Ohio, he made the move down south to Texas. A rather sharp turn to our story, but by the time Lyndon was in his mid-20s, he found himself in a cult. This was due to his obsession with his girlfriend at the time, who eventually left him for another man. Rather appropriate for the direction this
I'll do anything for you, baby. Join the skull. Okay. I'm leaving you. Okay. Enjoy the cult. Okay. It's so fucked up.
story will take, but the cult's slogan was, "Quit bitching, start a revolution." By the late 90s, Lyndon had established himself as a man who loved rock music, the great outdoors, and motorcycles.
I like it though. Quit bitches, start a revolution. I like it.
And that final hobby would come at a cost.
Oh god.
That cost came in the form of a neck injury, as one day while on his bike, he was involved in a road collision. This collision left him in hospital for several weeks, which also led to an addiction with opioids, during his recovery and afterwards too. But by the year 2004, Lyndon had moved to Denver, Colorado, where he then took up work in the medicinal cannabis industry on North Holly Street, a move that actually would earn him a lot of money. He stayed in this venture for several years, but getting straight into it, in the year 2013, he ended up losing his managerial position after he threatened his employees with a gun. It was around this time that he met a very special character, a man named Jeremy Costello. Jeremy was a tattoo artist, and while adding another one to Lyndon's skin, the two began to talk. Now, Lyndon loved tattoos, and had many of them all over his body, but he was not an artist himself, and had no idea how to successfully run a tattoo shop. Despite this, he impulsively decided to invest all of his money into a new tattoo business with Jeremy, and needless to say, this eventually ended up bad for the both of them. Lyndon had a terrible relationship with his employees. He was aggressive, uncompassionate, and dreadfully sexist towards all of his female colleagues. No surprise, but eventually everyone hated him. This is something that'll come up time and time again in this video, but he was actually an extremely misogynistic man. He believed women were useless and should have no say in important decisions. Most of his relationships
Oh, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. Oh god.
would crumble within months. And despite his own brash personality, Lyndon was also extremely sensitive and held grudges much longer than most. And to add to this, he seemingly had no idea how to manage finances. By the year 2015, he was forced to close his shop, which destroyed his relationship with Jeremy.
So I had a very successful business. I was an entrepreneur from about the age of 33. I was ruined financially. I went from making maybe 25, 30 grand a month in cash to zero, all in an instant. And so I had to sell all my assets, including my home. I mean, I was really in a bad spot. My friends just burned me. My girl just burned me. Like, my own family burned me. I mean, the details are Byzantine. They're really, really shocking. And it shocked me. And so I went to a very dark place. And I had all kinds of ideas of what I was going to do in order to make this right.
With the unfortunate change in his financial situation, Lyndon retreated from the city.
Damn, I feel kind of bad. Damn, Adrian. Like, I say this every time. He always does this. Makes me feel bad. And I probably shouldn't even feel bad. Like, I should be happy he was miserable for whatever, but... Oh.
And moved to a tiny home up in the mountains of Weston, outside of Denver. Being a fan of the tiny house movement and not having much money to spare, he made his own tiny house out of shipping containers, where he obnoxiously posted about it online. In one post, he said, "Most people try to make everything small in a tiny home, but I went the opposite route. I have less things, but each thing is larger. This was made possible because I didn't want a ton of goddamn storage. Storage is code for a woman lives here, and needs a place to put all the modern bullshit that nobody needs. My home has books, guns, and meat. I don't need storage for anything else." Lyndon was already on a selfish
Books, guns, and meats. No one messes with me. I eat my guns and I throw books at people and I talk to my meat. No one messes with me.
and self-righteous path. He had already burned many bridges with former friends and colleagues. But after losing all of his money and becoming isolated in the mountains, his behaviour, thoughts and opinions would all sink to a whole new level. He had also become more open about his views on women. He outwardly hated them.
Man, you just might want to keep your views on everything to your damn self, bud. Like, ladies, I am sorry for whatever this man's about to spout.
And showed no respect towards female well-being. It was around this time that Lyndon decided to become an author. He adopted the name Roman McClay as an online alias and began to write his own novels. And in particular was a 3-part series called Sanction. Now, I've briefly skimmed over the books, and quite honestly, they are absolutely terrible. His opinions are as tragic as his grammar, and the make-believe world he created does nothing but stroke his own ego. The main character is of himself, who is, quote, an extraordinarily gifted boy born into an average family. He describes himself as a supreme sigma, with high morality and culture. Advanced AI selects him as the perfect being, and duplicates his DNA into 1.6 million other men to accelerate mankind's development. He also rambles on about alpha males versus beta males, and also describes women as promiscuous people who only think with their heads in the clouds. Lyndon's character also has the same history as Lyndon himself, from birth to the cannabis farm to being screwed over by Jeremy. But the disturbing details do not stop there. His character then goes on a 6-month murder spree, killing 46 people, and all of those 46 had wronged him in the past. His books further talk about taking action to start a war on American soil. And meanwhile, in the real world, Lyndon referred to himself as an outlaw and vouched for the book to one day become reality. So maybe all of this was just some sort of sick fantasy, a way for him to vent out.
Maybe dude just lost this fucking ever love of mine. What the what? Okay. I'm definitely glad I wear boots. Shit's getting deep.
Out all of the negative emotions that had built up in his past. But to many others, it was a glaring red flag. With thanks to these books, Lyndon grew small fame in the manosphere, a collection of websites and forums that promote masculinity and misogyny and oppose feminism. These are typically populated by self-help hucksters, men's rights activists, incels, and the like. Lyndon would go on to meet many people through this pipeline, where he also expressed his frustrations at those who have, quote, betrayed him in the past.
That's how I live now.
Yeah.
Is I live on
It's validation.
It's validation.
Deep validation.
Yes, because I was alone in the wilderness for years, abandoned by my tribe, usurped, betrayed, overthrown, like
in a literal sense.
Literally,
in a literal
like
sense.
no joke, like really fucked over by my tribe, and now I have a new tribe, and they're loyal to me, you know, and I haven't tested the limits of that loyalty, but for where we're at now, they have shown supreme loyalty to me.
And through podcasts, interviews, and
Well, what's he think this is? Like, does he think he's like a werewolf, a part of a pack? I mean, well, what's going through your head here right now, bud? Is the Brotherhood wronged you? Oh.
hanging out, he would allude to and even recognize his own problematic behavior.
I live in a weird space. I'm proud of who I am, but I'm not proud of everything I'm about. I have thoughts, I have opinions, I have ideas, I have instincts that I think are wrong. But I have them.
Okay.
They're mine. They're real. And I won't pretend I don't have them. But that doesn't mean I'm proud of them. I don't know if a person has to deny what they are or embrace it fully. I had to admit, this is who I am, and it's ugly.
Although these books were a red flag in their own right, there were many more opportunities for those around Lyndon to notice a deeply troubled and disturbed man. Both local and federal police knew of Lyndon, and authorities had even been called to his home over allegations of domestic violence on more than just a few occasions. 11 times, to be exact, from 2012 through to 2016. Lyndon had also made a series of death threats, which were so violent that the FBI paid a visit to his property. And former friends still following Lyndon online noticed him slowly yet surely slipping into more and more extreme behaviour. Appearing on a podcast in 2020, Lyndon described himself as, "My personality is so extreme that I'm like the oily rags in the garage next to a flame source. I'm just asking for it, you know? I'm either a beast or a philosopher. I don't live alike in this normal human world." He would also continue with his aggression online, spreading his belief that law enforcement and social norms protect the weak from the strong. And
This is basically the plot to my stupid book. Our entire society is made up of shitty little fucks who insult badasses and get away with it because law enforcement and social norms protect the weak from the strong. I'm over it. The weak better buckle up. Shit is about to get real. Okay.
that the weak better buckle up, because, quote, "shit is about to get real." By the year 2021, nothing had changed. And in fact, Lyndon was becoming more demanding, more agitated, and more reckless. And although he had moved in to live with 2 fans, he was subsequently kicked out for becoming, quote, unhinged. Alongside his new partner, Anne, the two of them began to film clips for his next new project, which was a self-protagonist film called Warhorse. But as the two grew accustomed to one another, Lyndon's ugly side shone through.
Uh-oh.
After striking her across the face, the two decided to take a temporary break from one another. So while Anne headed back home to Salt Lake City, Lyndon was given $20,000 pocket money, along with her van and motorcycle to continue recording. But after parting ways, Lyndon suddenly fell silent. Anne tried to contact her boyfriend over and over again, but he never replied. Her suspicion grew, and just days later, she realized that Lyndon had stolen a further $37,000 through crypto payments. Lyndon had rinsed her for her money.
Oh, fuck.
Almost simultaneously with this discovery, a few of those close to Lyndon had also learned that he'd been grooming underage girls online, and that he had been stealing money from other ex-friends too. Lyndon's addiction to opioids was never fully overcome, but this addiction would peak and trough throughout the years. And by winter of 2021, he was once again heavily abusing the drug.
Whoa, bro, like, this dude's living like some Sons of Anarchy bullshit life, you know what I mean? He thinks he's Opie from Sons of Anarchy.
And by December of 2021, all of Lyndon's problems would collapse in the worst imaginative kind of way. On Monday the 27th of December, only 2 days after Christmas, the peaceful atmosphere found in downtown Denver was met with Lyndon's wrath. Shortly before 5:25 p.m, a black Ford Econoline pulled up next to the Soul Tribe, a tattoo shop located on Broadway. Just seconds later, the armed man left his vehicle and entered the store. Lyndon opened fire on all that were inside.
Why?
Alicia Cardenas, Aliscon Maldonado, and Jimmy Maldonado were all shot in the process.
Why?
And tragically, both Alicia and Alyssa were killed almost instantly. Lyndon stormed out of the tattoo shop, where he then made his way to his next so-called enemy. And just 6 minutes after leaving Soul Tribe, he arrived at West 6th Avenue, near Bannock Street. This was the location of Jeremy's apartment, and dressed as a delivery driver, he knocked on the family's front door, only to be greeted by Jeremy's wife. Lyndon asked for Jeremy, but she found it strange that the driver had turned up at this time of day, and to a door rarely used by public personnel. Using her wits, she told Lyndon that he wasn't home, when in reality, Jeremy was eating dinner in the next room. Lyndon walked away, but just 10 minutes later, he returned with a sledgehammer. As the family fled, Lyndon fired through several doors of the house, several bullets flying past the baby's crib in the process.
Holy
Just
shit.
moments later, the family's truck was also set ablaze. By 5:45 p.m, Lyndon had arrived at a condo next to Cheeseman Park, near East 12th Avenue. This was the home of Michael Swinyard, another man to die in his books.
Why?
Lyndon breached Michael's home, and tragically, after finding Michael, he shot him.
Who was these people to him? Why?
Only 12 minutes later, and at 5:57 p.m, a surveillance camera captured Lyndon pull up outside the Lucky 13 tattoo shop found near West Colfax Avenue. The footage shows him enter the shop, and not even 10 seconds later, exit. Within that time, he had spent an entire magazine into the Lucky 13, killing Danny Schofield, another person to have supposedly wronged him in the past.
Good
Barely
God.
reported by the media, next Lyndon walked into Ted's at Belmar, went behind the counter, and poured himself a drink. When confronted, he pulled a gun on the bartender before walking out.
Fuck off! Just wanted a drink. What?
By now, at 6:04 p.m, officers had located Lyndon and his
I just wanted a drink. Fuck!
van at the Wells Fargo bank found in the Belmar shopping area. They tried to contact
Damn.
him, but instead he fired his gun at the police. Police officers fired back, but Lyndon was able to escape the shootout. He made his way into the Hyatt House Hotel, drew his gun to the front desk worker, and unfortunately shot her. He had no idea who she was, but tragically, Sarah Steck was killed in the process. Lyndon then proceeded on foot to the intersection of South Vance Street and West Alaska Drive. This is where he came across police agent Ashley Ferris. Already hearing of the other tattoo shootings, and on a hunch, Ashley decided to rush to a tattoo shop in Lakewood. She ordered Lyndon to drop his weapon, but instead he shot the woman in the abdomen. Despite being shot, Ashley returned fire, killing Lyndon Mcleod almost immediately.
Hell yeah.
And at long last, his reign of terror was over.
My God, shit got crazy fast. Y'all damn.
What authorities were faced with next was the path of destruction left behind. With 5 deaths and 2 injuries spread across several harrowing scenes, scores of police tape, and hundreds of officers sprawled across the awful aftermath. Denver and the local communities banded together to show their love and support for the victims. And with multiple tattoo shops destroyed, the assault seemed to be targeted. Combining this with the deaths of multiple tattoo artists, the 27th of December 2021 came to be one of the tattoo community's darkest days. By morning, the city had come to realize that the shooter was none other than Lyndon Mcleod, and tragically, almost everyone who already knew of him admitted they were not surprised. It probably comes as no surprise to you
It's
either,
awful.
but authorities had countless opportunities to intervene and stop Lyndon from his final actions. His former roommates, who had already kicked him out of the property, had warned authorities already of his growing violent behavior. He had shared with them that he wanted to attack Denver with a flamethrower and begin a violent revolution. Many friends and fans had tried to warn authorities about this. Andrew Teal had grown weary of Lyndon, and had even called Denver police, the FBI, and German police to complain. This man did his very best to address the authorities. Andrew literally created a 9-page document addressing all of his threats with sources. And all of this was an entire year before the attack. It's a
So they was literally handing them this motherfucker like on a silver platter, and they're like, nah. What the fuck?
terrible shame that no one listened to him. Now, of course, the public would soon learn of his books, and everything seems so obvious in hindsight, but these books would describe the very same actions Lyndon took on his final night. You know, it's strange to think about, but he essentially portrayed his main character as an idealized copy of himself, and then viewed himself as his character. His character followed his history up to the point in time where he had written his books, but then, flipping the scenario, he would then follow his character's actions in the years to come, all the way through to his death. There was one crucial difference between him and his book, however, as he and his misogynistic life were killed by the hands of a female police officer, who, by the way, he had shot first. Although she was temporarily paralyzed in her right leg after the shooting,
Oh,
Ashley
shit.
Ferris is now able to walk again, and
Hell
will
yeah.
hopefully go on to make full recovery.
Hell
Jimmy
yeah.
would go on to make a full physical recovery, but he has a new burden instead, as tragically, his wife Alice was killed in the process. Although Jeremy Costello and his partner were killed by Lyndon in his fictional book, the two luckily escaped with their baby in reality. As Lyndon broke his way into their home with a sledgehammer, Jeremy and his family fled through a side door before taking refuge in a nearby shop. This, of course, left them with a tremendous amount of psychological stress after the incident.
I'd imagine.
But nevertheless, the family are glad and feel so fortunate to make it away with their lives.
I looked in the peephole and I saw it was like a delivery or a mail carrier. He said, I have a package for Jeremy Castillo.
And he kept asking, are you sure? Are you sure? And she said, yeah. So we moved into this other room in between the two rooms of my shop, and he fired 6 shots through the door at us. I was pretty much his #1 target. I guess he wanted me to read it to see that in the book, a character was that was his own name, Lyndon Mcleod, was gonna kill me and then behead her.
I mean, everybody that was involved in this is a victim, and we survived it, and I honestly have to thank Jeremy for that, and of course, the Lord.
Several days after Lyndon's death, his girlfriend Anne received a package from the grave. Inside it were the rights to all 3 of his books, along with a 47-minute movie he had created. Lyndon may have been a terrible tattoo shop manager and author, and he was just as terrible at movie producing too. His film, which is named Warhorse, was just as nauseating to watch. It's a series of overdramatic bad boy clips very loosely stitched together to create a barely discernible story. And of course, the main character is yet again Lyndon Mcleod. Very briefly showing you some parts of the trailer, dramatically framed scenes show Lyndon drinking whiskey while sheepishly grinning at lightning. He walks down dimly lit corridors, likely in search of his missing ego, and drives alongside big scary trains on his motorbike. The package received seemed to be sent on December the 27th, 2021, the very same day of the attack. And with his film being completed only days before he went on to kill multiple innocent people, it is all too likely that the film was intended to be used to glorify his actions. The movie was initially available for purchase online, but has since been deleted. Lower quality versions remain throughout the internet, but honestly, it's best buried. After Lyndon's death, officers made their way to his former home found in Denver. They were greeted by the home's new owner, who had a story to tell. Apparently, after buying the house off of Lyndon, he found multiple animal skulls scattered throughout the property. He also found multiple gun safes hidden behind walls. They found him to be very weird, and he pretty much completely vanished after selling the property. To quote a rather famous psychologist reviewing this case, Lyndon's business and financial failures were due to his incompetence, arrogance, aggression, and lack of people skills, yet he blamed everyone else for what happened to him. He essentially hated all women, beta males, weak men, and those who wronged him in the past, and this left Lyndon...
No, I don't think he hated him. I think he was just... He's shit. I mean, I'm nowhere near as big as him, but I guarantee you if we got into a fight, he wouldn't have walked away without a limp. Guarantee that. People like that just... Whatever, you know.
Very angry and isolated. Without the cognitive ability to challenge his own thoughts or opinions, he in turn became a very volatile man, and became more and more dangerous right up to the end. And sadly, this leads us to the victims of today's case, those who undeservedly died at his hands. Alyssa, Alicia, Danny, Michael, and Sarah. Jimmy Maldonado, who was also shot but survived, remembers his wife Alyssa as light in the shadows. She was sweet and gangster all at the same time, and had an amazing balance. The two of them were planning to start a family together, but that was taken away from them in the mere blink of an eye. Alicia Cardenas is remembered as a pillar of Denver's artistic community. Wisdom and grace poured from her any time she chose to speak. She was a kind and wise person, and her work and artistic flair will carry on through the many apprentices she taught. Michael Swinyard, a 67-year-old builder, was a quiet man. While introverted and shy, he was also a very good listener and friend. He enjoyed golf and making those around him happy. Both of those things he was very good at. Danny Schofield, a talented creative who worked at the Lucky 13, leaves behind 3 children and is sorely missed by his children, sister, and the rest of his family. Danny is remembered as a thoughtful man who had inspired many others to become tattoo artists. Sarah Steck did not know Lyndon Mcleod. She was a stranger to him, but was shot anyway. At the age of 28, she had aspirations to become a graphic designer. She is remembered as an all-round great human being, beautiful and kind, and there to help anyone in need without hesitation. These 5 individuals had no chance to protect themselves from Lyndon's actions. And in fact, it is terrifying how quick some of these events unfolded. Whether there was any sort of contention between them and Lyndon in the past, it is certain that they did not deserve to have their lives taken. May the families and friends of Alyssa, Alicia, Danny, Michael, and Sarah find peace in the future. And so that just about wraps up our case today, folks. Thank you so much for watching another video today by Coffeehouse Crime. If you found this case interesting or insightful,
I did, sir. What pisses me off is that there was so much that could have been done before all that. Like, I felt bad for doing it at the beginning of it. You know, it's hard to lose everything and lose everyone. I get that. I understand that. But I also understand that don't give you a right to take anyone's fucking life. And give a damn how shitty you think they've treated you. You don't have the right to take their life. Period. People, bro. People. I really don't understand it. Oh, that one's gonna just kind of stick with me for a little bit. There's shitty. Like, I even understand. Oh, these people are on me. I'm gonna go kill them. Cool. Why'd you kill the innocent girl, bud? Fuck you. You know. All right. I really enjoyed today's story, though. If y'all really enjoyed it, please go down there, leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, things that just fuck your brain hole, think about subscribing. There's a lot of tomfuckery that goes around. Yeah. Yeah. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Dude, thanks. Are you serious? I swear to God, he's watched Twilight one too many fucking times. He thinks he's a pack mentality or some bullshit.